The morning light poured into the Good Morning America studio. It's bright and inviting as always, but something in the air felt unusually charged. The cameras rolled, the audience applauded, and Selena Gomez, calm and radiant, stepped into her seat opposite George Stephanopoulos. At first glance, it looked like any other celebrity interview, polished, professional, and upbeat. But behind Selena's composed smile, there was a quiet tension, the kind that only surfaces when a line is about to be crossed. George opened with a few standard questions about her latest project, her advocacy for mental health, and her journey of self-discovery. Selena answered gracefully, her voice soft but assured. Yet as the conversation drifted toward her personal life, the shift in tone was unmistakable. George leaned forward, pressing deeper, a journalist chasing a headline. Selena's eyes flickered, and for a split second, that calm facade cracked. The audience didn't know it yet, but they were seconds away from witnessing one of the most unexpected live moments in Good Morning America history. The tension built like a silent drumbeat. George's next question wasn't just probing, it was personal. It touched on a chapter of Selena's past she had long moved beyond. Something she had spoken about privately, but never intended to relive on national television. A faint, nervous laugh escaped her lips. Then, with poise and unmistakable firmness, she replied, her words calm but edged with steel. "George, I think we've talked enough about the past. Maybe it's time to focus on where we are now." That one line shifted everything. The air grew heavy. The audience fell silent. George, momentarily caught off guard, tried to pivot, but the emotional energy had already changed. Selena's expression remained composed, but her eyes said everything: strength, fatigue, and a quiet defiance that couldn't be ignored. Producers exchanged glances behind the cameras, unsure whether to cut, to break, or let the moment unfold. The tension was electric, raw, real, and completely unscripted. What began as a routine interview had just turned into something unforgettable. The question now lingered in every viewer's mind. What exactly pushed Selena Gomez to her breaking point that morning? Just hours before the live broadcast, the Good Morning America team had prepared everything down to perfection. The segment was meant to highlight Selena Gomez's latest music project, a heartfelt return to her artistic roots. Paired with her growing voice as a mental health advocate, the tone was supposed to be uplifting, a celebration of healing and resilience. Selena arrived early, dressed simply, yet elegantly, greeting crew members with her signature warmth. To anyone watching, she looked calm, centered, and ready. But under that serenity was quiet exhaustion, the kind that comes from constantly having to explain your pain to the public. George Stephanopoulos, known for his sharp interviewing style, had a different plan. His producers had suggested touching briefly on Selena's past, the kind of personal angle that keeps morning show ratings high. He wasn't trying to start a confrontation. Years of experience had taught him that emotional candor makes headlines. As the cameras started rolling, the chemistry between them was civil, yet distant. Selena smiled, but it was guarded, the kind of smile that conceals more than it reveals. George began with safe, surface-level questions about her creative process and upcoming tours. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, he began to steer the conversation toward her private life, her past relationships. In the darker moments she had fought to overcome, each question felt like a small test of patience. And Selena passed them all with grace until the final one landed just a little too hard. It wasn't cruel, but it was careless. And in that instant, studio's warmth turned cold. What began as an interview meant to inspire was about to shift into a storm no one saw coming. The question that changed everything came wrapped in politeness, but its weight hit like a stone. George leaned forward slightly, his tone steady yet piercing. "Selena," he began, "you've often spoken about overcoming heartbreak and public scrutiny. Do you ever feel that your past relationships still define who you are today?" The air thinned. The audience went still. For a moment, Selena didn't speak. Her expression softened, then tightened, a flicker of disbelief flashing in her eyes. She took a slow breath, as if deciding whether to respond at all. Then she smiled, small and sharp. "I think it's unfortunate," she said carefully, that people still try to define women by the men they were once seen with. It was poised, respectful, but loaded. The tone had shifted entirely. George, perhaps sensing tension but unable to retreat, followed up. But don't you think those experiences helped shape the woman you are now? Selena's composure finally cracked. The smile faded, replaced by quiet frustration. George, she replied firmly, I've spent years shaping myself, my art, my voice, my purpose. I don't need my past to validate that. The silence that followed was heavy enough to hear the hum of the studio lights. Even the camera operators hesitated, unsure whether to cut away or stay locked on her face. George tried to smooth it over with a half-hearted laugh. But Selena's gaze remained steady, direct, unflinching. Then, almost instinctively, she unhooked her microphone, her movements graceful but final. I think that's all I need to say, she murmured, standing up as the crew scrambled. The broadcast cut abruptly to commercial. In that moment, millions of viewers witnessed not just an interview, but a boundary drawn in real time. Asterisk within minutes of the abrupt commercial break. Social media lit up like wildfire. Clips of Selena removing her mic and walking off the Good Morning America set flooded X, TikTok, and Instagram. The hashtag Selena Gomez GMA began trending worldwide. Viewers couldn't believe what they'd seen, some praising her for standing her ground, others criticizing the show for pushing too far. Inside ABC headquarters, producers scrambled to manage the chaos. Statements were drafted, PR calls made, and segments edited before the replay aired. George Stephanopoulos, usually calm under pressure, appeared visibly shaken after the break, briefly addressing the moment as a miscommunication. But the internet had already chosen sides. Selena's fans, fiercely loyal and protective, rallied behind her with messages of support and admiration. Proud of you, Selena, one post read. You don't owe anyone your pain. By afternoon, major outlets were running headlines. Selena Gomez walks off live interview. After heated exchange, what was meant to be a lighthearted morning show had turned into a cultural moment, one that blurred the line between professionalism and personal boundaries. And for Selena, that line had just been redrawn in front of millions. Asterisk within minutes of the abrupt commercial break. Social media lit up like wildfire. Clips of Selena removing her mic and walking off the Good Morning America set flooded X, TikTok, and Instagram. The hashtag Selena Gomez GMA began trending worldwide. Viewers couldn't believe what they'd seen, some praising her for standing her ground, others criticizing the show for pushing too far. Inside ABC headquarters, producers scrambled to manage the chaos. Statements were drafted, PR calls made, and segments edited before the replay aired. George Stephanopoulos, usually calm under pressure, appeared visibly shaken after the break, briefly addressing the moment as a miscommunication. But the internet had already chosen sides. Selena's fans, fiercely loyal and protective, rallied behind her with messages of support and admiration. Proud of you, Selena, one post read. You don't owe anyone your pain. By afternoon, major outlets were running headlines. Selena Gomez walks off live interview. After heated exchange, what was meant to be a lighthearted morning show had turned into a cultural moment, one that blurred the line between professionalism and personal boundaries. And for Selena, that line had just been redrawn in front of millions. Asterisk by the next morning. Good Morning America released an official statement expressing regret for any discomfort caused during the segment. The tone was professional, but clearly conciliatory. George Stephanopoulos also addressed the situation personally, stating that his intention had been to celebrate Selena's strength, not to provoke. Selena, however, chose grace over bitterness, rather than fueling the drama. She thanked her fans for their overwhelming support and quietly shifted focus back to her work, promoting her upcoming mental health campaign and new single. The internet quickly followed her lead. Public opinion settled decisively in Selena's favor. Editorials praised her for handling the moment with dignity and emotional intelligence. calling it a masterclass in boundary setting on live television. Even critics admitted the exchange had sparked an important conversation about respect, empathy, and the pressures of celebrity interviews. Ironically, the controversy that could have tarnished her appearance ended up amplifying her message. The ratings for the segment soared, but this time, spotlight wasn't on conflict, it was on self-respect. Selena hadn't just walked off a set, she'd walked into a stronger version of herself. Asterisk. In the days that followed, the moment became more than a viral clip. It became a statement. Viewers replayed the footage not to see drama, but to study the quiet power behind Selena Gomez's composure. She hadn't shouted, argued, or lashed out. She simply chose to walk away, and that decision spoke louder than any confrontation ever could. Commentators called it a new kind of strength, the ability to set boundaries in real time, especially under the unblinking eye of live television. For millions who had watched her grow up in the public eye, this was a defining moment. Selena wasn't just an entertainer anymore. She was a mirror for anyone who had ever been pushed too far and finally decided enough. Her calm defiance sparked a broader conversation about empathy in media and the humanity behind celebrity life. It reminded audiences that authenticity isn't loud, it's steady. In walking off that set, Selena didn't lose control. She reclaimed it, and as the dust settled, one truth became clear. Sometimes the most powerful message you can send is silence. Asterisk moments like this remind us why stories matter, not because they shock us, but because they reveal something real beneath the surface. Selena Gomez's quiet act of courage wasn't just a viral headline. It was a reflection of every person who's ever been cornered, misunderstood, or expected to smile through discomfort. She chose respect over reaction, grace over chaos, and in doing so, she gave her audience permission to do the same. So now we turn the question to you. What do you think about what happened on Good Morning America that morning? Was Selena right to walk away when the line was crossed? Or should live interviews always push for uncomfortable truths? Share your thoughts in the comments because your voice completes the story. Every opinion, every perspective helps uncover the deeper truth hidden behind moments like these. And if you believe in stories that go beyond the surface, stories that explore emotion, power, and the unseen side of fame, then make sure to subscribe. Turn on notifications and join us again.